let's talk about just the plain old roasting of a turkey. You've bought it, you've cleaned it, you've stuffed it, it's now in the oven. When I buy a turkey, I look at the size. We know that you need about a pound of turkey per person, but the bigger the turkey you get, the less you need. So by the time you get up to about a 20-pound turkey, you only need about 3/4 of a pound per person. So if you're having a big group, try and calculate appropriately. Once you've stuffed it and put it in the oven, let's talk about timing. I started my turkey at 500 degrees. I gave it a big blast of heat to get it started cooking. And then after half an hour, 20 minutes to half an hour, I turned down the heat to 350 degrees. That's where it is right now. Turkey's been in for a total of about an hour. I'm going to take it out and let's have a look at it, because once the top gets nice and golden brown, you want to cover it with foil so that it doesn't get too brown and start to burn, or worse yet, your breast meat starts to dry out. So let's have a look at the turkey. Okay, so after an hour of roasting, you can see how nice and golden brown this is. It almost looks done, but I know it's not even close. So what I'm going to do is I started with about a cupful of water in the bottom, and most of that has dried up. So I'm going to add a little more water to my roasting pan. I'm going to use a baster. Looks like a big eyedropper. And I'm going to take some of those juices and I'm just going to squirt it over the top, just to keep it moist, get nice flavors running over the bird. Okay, you just want to baste it occasionally. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the whole thing loosely with aluminum foil. What this will do is it'll stop it from browning any further on the top, but it'll continue cooking on the inside, since I know we have at least a couple more hours to go. Okay, to test the temperature of your turkey, you want an instant read thermometer or any kind of thermometer. Instant read is just faster. First, I'm going to test the breast meat, and I'm going to plunge it into the deepest part of the breast, but I don't want to touch bone. I just want to make sure that I'm deep inside the meat to make sure it's all the way cooked through. I'm at about 144 degrees. I really want to get up closer to 155 or 160 degrees. So I need to put the turkey back in the oven a little longer. Another place you can test is the thickest part of the thigh, which is back here. I'm going to plunge that in deep, and this will be a little warmer. This is almost 165 degrees, which is really close to being done. What that tells me is guidelines are guidelines, and you really need to keep an eye on your turkey. If you assume the 15 to 20 minute rule per pound, which is where I always start, that's great, but understand that your turkey might be finished earlier, so you need to start checking after about 2 hours. It's been about 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'm going to put it back in for another 15 or 20, and I'm going to check it again. And remember, once your turkey comes out, it needs to rest before you carve it, and it's going to increase in temperature another 5 degrees or even more. So get it out a little on the early side, okay? Let's put it back and we'll continue cooking. Okay, I've taken my turkey out of the oven. I'm looking at it and it's got this beautiful golden brown color on it. You can see how the legs have started to pull away, and I've got some nice clear skin right here. I'm going to check one more time my internal temperature. Got my instant read thermometer going into the deepest part of the breast, but I don't want to touch the bone because I'll get an inaccurate reading. All right, I'm showing 155 degrees Fahrenheit in the breast. That's about perfect because the temperature will continue to rise to about 160 to 165 as the turkey sits on the cutting board, which you want it to do so it reabsorbs all of its juices before you carve it. So I'm going to take it out now, and hopefully my breast meat will still be nice and juicy and tender. Moving it from your roasting pan to your cutting board can be very exciting if you're not careful. You can either stick a wooden spoon in the cavity and move it over. Honestly, I just find it easier to use a couple of oven mitts, which of course you're going to have to wash immediately afterwards, but as long as you got a couple extra lying around the house, it just makes for a little bit easier work. Okay, that's a beautiful bird. Now, you do want it to rest before you carve it, but it's best to get the stuffing out of it before it rests. That way it doesn't sit and create bacteria that might form. A warm turkey like this and all the juices can be a little dangerous, so we want to get the stuffing out of it now. And I'm just going to add the stuffing to the leftover stuffing that didn't fit inside the turkey when I roasted it. First, I'm going to cut off the little trussing agent that we used. Came with the turkey just to give me a little more room to maneuver. We'll take out my foil that helped keep the stuffing moist. I'm just going to spoon it out, and I'm going to try not to sample any as I go, but you know I will. Oh, it looks great. You see how juicy that is? Mixing it in with this other stuffing, and then the whole batch of stuffing will be absolutely delicious. And here's my neck cavity. I'm just going to cut the skin open with my scissors. I skewered it with a couple of toothpicks. And there's one right there. So we just want to cut it open just enough to get the stuffing out. And there it is. Yeah, doesn't that look nice? Okay, let's just summarize the roasting of a turkey. We took it out, it was completely thawed, we rinsed it, we stuffed it, we put it on a roasting rack in a roasting pan with a little water in the bottom. I put it in a 500-degree oven for about 30 minutes, and then I turned down the oven to 350 degrees. After an hour, I looked at my bird and it was nicely browned on top, so I tented it with foil. After 2 hours, I started testing the temperature because it looked like it was really cooking quickly and I didn't want to overcook it. It ended up taking about 3.5 hours total. This is a 14-pound bird, and that means it's around 15 minutes per pound. The guideline I like to give is 15 to 20 minutes a pound, which is nice and conservative and makes sure that your meat gets cooked to a proper and safe doneness. I took it out when my breast meat reached 155 degrees Fahrenheit, knowing that as it sits here and rests on my board before I carve it, it's going to go up another 5 to 10 degrees in temperature. That'll leave me with nice moist meat and a delicious turkey dinner. But just remember, keep checking. Guidelines are guidelines. Everybody's oven is different, everybody's turkey is different, and you may like it a little bit less done or a little more done. So that's my recommendation. Keep checking. I checked it about every half an hour after the first 2. All right, let's tent this, and then we'll wait to carve it until it's had a nice little chance to rest. Bon appetit.